Remember, your quiz for Toulmin model is going to be on Monday as opposed to tomorrow. So if you were not here yesterday, you still have some time to kind of go over the notes and things of that nature. Where we left off yesterday, we were going over examples, kind of like of how your quiz is going to look, where you're going to have those three statements and you're going to identify data, claim, warrant. That is what your quiz is going to be. So there'll be 4 sets of 3, so it'll be a 12-point quiz. Each set, there's going to be 1 data, 1 claim, 1 warrant. Those 3 statements will all be 1 consistent argument. So it's not that you're going to have to find a data in 1 set of words that matches up with a warrant and like a 4th set of statements that'll go with another kind of claim. It'll all be those 3 together that will be each argument. It's just identifying which one's data, claim, warrant. So there'll be 4 arguments. You have to identify the 3 parts to the 4 arguments. 3 times 4, 12. What's going to happen today is we'll finish doing a couple more examples just to make sure we're good with it. What we were looking at yesterday is called the simple Toulmin model. Since there's a simple Toulmin model, that also means that there must be an advanced. Were you going to say non-simple, Mike? Yeah.
You have to say advanced.
Advanced Toulmin model. Not really difficult, just there's a couple more steps to it. Your quiz on Monday is strictly going to be the simple Toulmin model. So data, claim, warrant is the stuff that we're going to look at. We are going to add some elements to the Toulmin model. That'll be some stuff that we expect to be, we want you to be aware of, cognizant of when it comes to creating our own arguments. It'll be stuff we'll talk about, when midterm exam rolls around and all that stuff. But for what's, facing us right here, right now, on Monday, it's going to be identifying data, claim, warrant. You're not going to be looking at the advanced stuff, which doesn't really mean difficult for the most part. Okay, so I just want to kind of clarify with that. So there's not a homework assignment that you have over the weekend. There's not a reading assignment that's going on that you forgot about. It's just that we're going to have the quiz on Monday with it. Tomorrow we will start taking a look at logical fallacies. This is when you start getting me in trouble because you get in arguments at home and then you go, well, according to Mr. Kane, you are using a fill in the blank logical fallacy. Don't do that, Tyler. Keep me out of it. Especially if you're having, discussions with like significant others. Like, keep me out of it as much as possible. Okay. Yeah, Jared was in here. Or he came back.
He's really sick.
Yeah. Send them our best.
He sent me a Snapchat of him.
And you're getting wisdom teeth pulled out tomorrow.
Yeah.
You might have to get most
We're about to violate the 90
He's ready for that.
I told my parents they can't do anything against it.
You mean like with attendance policy and all that? Because we had a faculty meeting yesterday, and that was one of the things that was kind of coming up with it. So, and for us, it's really important because it is only a semester class. How many days are you going to be out for wisdom? Is it just going to be Friday? Are you going to be out?
As far as I know, just tomorrow, but I don't know how bad it is. So.
I mean,
It's not fun.
I hope to be back on Monday.
You'll be fine.
we get some swelling going on. It could be Wednesday, before we're back at full speed. If I don't remember who was this class or was other people. Someone was asking me about educational trips and stuff like that. Billy went on an educational trip.
Yeah, I went on a vacation.
Educational trip. That had to fill out the thing. That would count against her. So you're at 5 days now, right? So,
Yeah.
okay. If you
No,
had
it's 4 because it's 9 days.
So tomorrow?
well, no, but you were out for 5 days.
So
If you have a field trip, band is going someplace, CHS argumentation, we go to a debate at, Heinz Hall or whatnot, because that is, no. Actually, we have had field trips before. That's a whole other thing. That does not count against you. So you missed class because you're on a field trip. That's still a school curriculum-based trip. That's not going to hurt you at all. If Billy gets up to the 9 days or whatnot, they could go, you do not receive credit for this class because you've missed too many times. 5 of those was on like a personal vacation that took place. That is an option that is there. I think the people who who are going to face the stiffest penalty would be the person who habitually shows up at 8:30 at school. So you're here, but you always miss first period. I think that's the person who they're going to kind of struggle with the most. If Luke ends up being in the hospital for 3 days for medical reasons, or there's an extended, like last year I had my appendix removed, and I wasn't here for like 6 days. I don't think you're really going to be facing stiff penalties if you have a medical excuse, some kind of chronic ailment that's forcing you to go to the hospital. So it's not an automatic failure or an automatic removal of credit, but that is an option that is certainly there. And I think it's the folks who, if you show up at 8:30 every day and you keep missing that first period,
What if you're
you shouldn't have them the credit for it.
Yeah, what if you're like a 725 guy?
You're late to homeroom, but you're not absent.
So that's not going to do anything.
That would be a separate issue. That's not a 918
That's
rule.
before-
That is you're becoming tardy. That could be a Saturday, type thing.
What about
But
like
that wouldn't
holidays?
count as you missing school time. You're just coming in chronically late. Now, and I'm not going to pretend to know the answers to all this stuff. If you keep coming in at 8:01, so I'm showing up to school, I'm in first period, but you're missing half of first period every single day. I think at that point that would kind of start to count against you. But I don't see there being a thing where, hey, wisdom teeth got pulled out, appendix was removed, broke your arm, had to go, get that, put in a cast. That's not the type of stuff that you're looking to eliminate. I will say, I know every year is always kind of different. Classes are different. It's been the best year I've had for attendance for the first, 3 weeks of school.
Yeah, but everybody's also sick the third week of school because no one's seen it. So
Well,
that's-
yeah. But there has been less of the I'll press today kind of thing, which I'm happy about.
So even if you have a family emergency, they count it against you, right?
If and this is a state thing. So if you are absent, yes, it counts against you. Whether it is a unexcused absent, excused absence. I mean, technically, like you getting your wisdom teeth pulled counts against you. If I had to attend a funeral, it would count against me. Now, it's a 9-18 thing. So, for 9, that's a semester, you're talking 10%. 18, you're talking 10%. If you have a family emergency, that you can't come to school, and those things happen, and that forces you to miss, 2 days throughout the course of the school year, that's not what's going to put you over necessarily, that 18 threshold. So, I don't think it's looking for what's that one family emergency, what's that one time that you had to go visit, a relative, what's that one college trip. I don't know where that thing falls. I think that would probably still count against you. But going on like a college trip or whatnot, but it would be the stacking of you had this, and you had this, and you had this, and you had this, and then you had these, and these. That's when it starts to become problematic.
If it's a college trip, you have to write a form or something.
Yeah, I know there's forums and stuff for it. From my understanding, because there's rankings for everything, but how schools get ranked and whatnot. Attendance is now from the state a major element, a larger component than has been in the past. If you go on a band field trip, as far as the state is concerned, you are absent. Now, North Hills isn't counting that against you as part of that 918, but the state would look at you as being absent. So if you're considered not in school because of a field trip, I would imagine you're considered not in school because of a college visit, because of a family emergency and all those things. But again, it's not that, Josh, you were not here yesterday. We need to have a serious sit down. Corey, where were you? Give that information right now at this point, but it's going to be more of you missed then, and you missed then, and you missed then, and you missed then. Luke, we understand family emergencies do come up, and that could force you to miss a day, but that doesn't explain the other 12 days you missed, throughout the month of October kind of thing, and that's where it would become a problem.
So like it's even a thing like if you
What we'll
somehow
do
get
is
into
we're going to have
the
Mrs.
9
Williams
days.
come in next week, and we're going to set up a spar debate.
Oh,
And so we're going to see how well you do with your Toulmin model. Okay.
So like if you get to the 9 days, like I'm not saying I'm going to, but like, and you're still passing that class on like a good day, you just stumped, basically.
that is not an automatic decision, but that is a potential outcome, yeah. And here would be like my thing as an educator, where it would be if you're not, like, because there have been situations before where, like, over the course of a year, I'll have a student miss 45 days, which, I mean, that would be a quarter of the year.
Right.
If you're not here a quarter of, like, and I'll make up my tests, I'll make up my homework assignments and things like that. Assuming we're not talking about long-term illness, some kind of major family emergencies and all those things, but assuming it's just I wasn't in school, I don't think that everything that you learn in a class is based on the assignments that you submit. So if you're not there for a quarter of the time, I think there's a fair amount of content that is not being gained that, yeah, you should kind of be penalized for. And sure, you get the whole thing about excused and unexcused absences, but yeah, if you're chronically, habitually missing for unexcused reasons, like, maybe I shouldn't let you make up the quiz. You don't have a reason for you not being here on that Wednesday, so that's where those areas come in. But it's taken more on a case-by-case basis. So you know that, when, like, for example, I have to renew my car registration. Got to do it at the end of this month. I still got about 3 weeks to do it. If I don't renew it, am I getting fined? No. Not automatically. Because you don't even have to put a sticker on your license plate anymore. It used to be there would be a little sticker on your license plate. Police could pull you over. Your sticker says June of 17, sir. Yeah, you're right. You're now fined. They can't pull me over because my car is not registered. Now, if I get pulled over for a speeding ticket and they scan my license and whatnot, then they find it and your car's unregistered, I face the penalty. Now I have to deal with it. So it would kind of be along those circumstances where just because you do something or you fail to do something doesn't mean the penalty is coming your way, but you have set yourself up for that potential punishment. So if you miss 9 days in the semester or 18 days in the year, you're not automatically not getting credit for this class or some other class, but you're setting yourself up for that as being a potential punishment. Last thing, Mike, then we'll move on.
If I don't miss any days this semester, I can miss 18 next semester.
And your schedule is made up of semester and year-long classes. So let's say that you don't miss any days this semester, okay? Or have you missed any days yet?
No.
Okay, so you've been here every day. Next semester you miss 11 days. For your year-long classes, you are still okay. But for whatever you're going to have second semester, if you're taking English electives classes as a senior, for those classes you have set yourself up where the potential would be not to receive credit. And as a second semester senior, that is something that you definitely want to be aware of because you don't have that other semester, to kind of make up that missing class. If you missed 11 days this semester, and that did cause you to not get credit for like an English elective, you could still double up, second semester to get it. So that second semester is really when things could prove to be a little bit more problematic for some people. But it would apply to your year-long classes, you would still be okay, because you would be in school for over 90% of those. But for those second semester classes, it's to be kind of confusing to say, that could potentially be a problem. Good talk, team. Good talk. As part of your Toulmin quiz on Monday, we'll also have multiple choice questions about the 918 rule to see how well all of this has sunk into Addie's head.
Can we actually just do a debate about the
I can throw it out there to her, yeah. I would say we shouldn't do it now because I think you want to go over some things and be prepared for your research and whatnot. In the past, how many years ago was this? When it was still a zero tolerance cell phone policy rule, which especially now with iPads and things like that, that's kind of gone by the wayside. But no, we had administration come in, and for one class, we had the way that we did it, I believe, was we had a class debate that was set up into 2 teams. It was a small class. I think there was like 12. So 6 on one side, 6 on the other. End of the semester, we did a team debate about like cell phone. No, it was about should schools be able to monitor online behavior. That's what it was. Whether you were posting something, using school device or at home. And administration came in as the moderators. And so they kind of gave professional insight opinion. So it wasn't, debating against admin, but it was them kind of being the expert. So you could have the other team asking you questions, but also administration would be able to ask questions. You could ask administration questions for kind of follow-up on stuff. So, ways in which we can incorporate, other people into the class, I have no problems with it at all. So yeah, that could be a possibility, something we work on. What we have to look at now is the Toulmin model. Not a good transition, but hey, best we could do at the time. All right, so again, mentioned to you that this would be what your quiz is going to look like. So here we have 1, 2, 3 sets of arguments, and these 3, as we were talking about, work sharing with Germany go together. These 3 would go together. These 3 would go together. That's the way that quiz is ultimately going to be set up. So we're not going to go through every single one of these things, but we'll do one more here just for clarity's sake. Middle one, people over 65 are more dangerous drivers. Number of car accidents for people over 65 is twice that for people aged 18 to 25. The number of driving accidents is an indicator of driving ability. Of those 3, which one would you say is the claim? Which one is the argument, the point that the person is trying to get across to the audience?
People over 65 are more dangerous.
So the very first one, this one here would be our claim, correct. What's our evidence that is supporting that, Jeremy?
The number of car accidents.
So essentially, how are you proving, how are you supporting that people over 65 are more dangerous drivers? Well, if they're 65 or older, they get in more accidents than people who are younger. What is the implicit connection then between the 2? That would be, well, the number of driving accidents is an indicator of driving ability. Doesn't mean that argument necessarily is sound the whole way through, but that would be the way that argument was structured. Here's the claim, here's the data, here's the warrant. And I think that's usually the easiest way to go about it, as identifying, figure out the claim, figure out the evidence, then make sure that third one kind of works, so to speak. Right? Josh, one, you want to kill the light? Ooh, that was personification. He didn't actually kill the light. English teacher stuff. Corey, don't you miss that? All right, here is a picture that's purposely kind of grainy to make it as ambiguous as possible. What do we see?
It was an accident.
Why are you going like that?
He fell down the steps.
She almost looks like a mermaid.
Her name is Ariel.
You go way back.
No. So, we have our gentleman down here who does not look to be in a good position at this point at the bottom of steps. We have elegant evening gown / mermaid outfit, lady distressed. We got to find out what happened. Now, what have you already done? He has put a very negative tone to it. He's gone, it was an quote-unquote accident. What has he already done? He's establishing his claim that this was done purposefully. Remember, Toulmin model is we want to collect evidence. We want to gain as much as we possibly can so far as details. Then we want to try to figure out what exactly went about happening. So, did we have a slip or did we have a trip? And we're going to be taking a look at the picture again. Margaret and her husband Charles got into a little spat. She storms out of the house, leaves him at home by himself. Margaret goes to the country club where there's a party going on. Every there loves her mermaid dress, tells her how well she looks in it, and this makes her feel much better. Margaret leaves just before 1 in the morning from the country club and invites a few friends to follow her home for one more evening beverage. She got home 10 minutes before the friends arrive. But when her friends rang the doorbell, Margaret ran outside saying something terrible had happened. Charles slipped and fell on the stairs. He was coming down for another drink, and I think he's dead. Oh my God, what should I do? The police concluded that Charles died from a wound on the head and confirmed the fact that he had indeed been intoxicated. What do you think happened? Wound on his head could be from falling down the stairs, or you could argue that the wound on his head, blunt trauma, forced him to then kind of fall down the stairs. So, knowing these details now, I want you to make a claim. And I want you to think about this individually on your own, not start shouting stuff out. Present evidence. Come up with evidence, and we'll go back to the picture, or we can go over any of the details to support your opinion with concrete information. Could be testimony. We don't really have written documents necessarily, but could be descriptions of the conditions, taking a look at some details within the picture, and then explain how that evidence ultimately supports your claim. So you're going to have your data, you're going to have your warrant, which is going to lead you to your claim, whether it was a slip or a trip or something else. So take a look. I can zoom in on different places, and then I want you to come up with your own conclusion. So I don't want you to say what you think happened yet, but do you want me to move in on anything?
No, it's not really about that. I kind of had a little oopsie. I kind of spilled some coffee. And I ate the towels.
I kind of had a little oopsie. Not just like, hey, Mr. Kane, spill some coffee, bro. Gotta get some towels.
Don't bro me.
Can you zoom in on his left hand?
Down here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not.
So, and again, picture's grainy just because it makes it more fun. So right here is left hand. That would be like his beverage, since he came down for one more drink and had already been intoxicated.
Even
That's some commitment.
even death, don't spill the drinks.
Do we have information on whether or not he was whether he was right or left-handed?
It could be a commercial.
No, we don't.
Ah.
Does look like carpeted.
I'm
Stairs,
taking
so-
both hands. Just like put your glass in both hands and it's
Runners on carpet can be dangerous.
Yeah. I'm more concerned about the way she comes to You got something burning in the background. Like, the house is going to burn down.
Well, friends were coming down for appetizers. You can see the heat is on because the dial there, plus what's going on with our frying pan.
This is probably like husband number 3.
She's cooking his remaining.
She's cooking his remaining.
She put something in the drink.
Yep. Okay, so now we're making a claim that this was accident because based on evidence that she was actually cooking. And Jess said you can see steam. You also can, the dials here, maybe it's going to go, oh, maybe not. There it goes. The dials here in the background, you can see that the one is turned. So that's definitely steam coming because she has, some kind of appetizer or something of that nature being prepared. Brooke and then Jeremy will come over to you. Here, I want to clear the ink here first, and then we'll get back to our details. So she gets home 10 minutes before they arrived. When the friends do arrive, ring the doorbell, she comes out going, something terrible has happened. So and slipped when he fell on the stairs. He was coming down for another drink. So based on her testimony, he would have been alive when she got there, and then she knows that he's coming down for another drink. The assumption would be if she's running out saying this now, it has just happened, and she's been home for 8-9 minutes prior beforehand. So, based from the testimony, it's not that she came home, opened the door, and he was laying there, but it happened while she was at home. But were you going to give your claim? Because I said I'd come to you. Okay. I mean, she has 5 absences.
Stop it. So I think she killed him because she got mad at me before she left, and everybody was like complimenting her and stuff like that. And then she came home all drunk, and he was drunk, and she was like, "Well, everybody else complimented me, your spot with me, like you don't treat me right and stuff like that."
So she killed him, but you're not that you're giving her an excuse, but you're saying the alcohol contributed to that she could have acted
She was probably mad that
differently than
he was
she normally.
drinking, like by
Okay.
himself and stuff.
Alright. So, A, they got into a fight beforehand, so it already looks bad. B, they have a pretty nice looking house, so he's probably got insurance.
Life insurance.
So,
So there's a
you know,
motive.
it's not looking good for her right now.
Maybe
B
she's,
or C?
maybe she's the breadwinner.
It's
It's not bad.
maybe. Let's see.
Mrs. Kane makes more than I do.
Well, the final part of it.
We'll come back. Okay. Brooke and then Jess.
So I think she's going because she was. So when people are going down the stairs, we're going to be facing forward. So if he would have fallen, it's most likely that he would have fallen face down. It'd be pretty hard for him to like flip over as he's falling.
Okay.
She was drunk, and I think it's suspicious that the stove is turned on. There's steam coming off of it, almost like she panicked it like that, so people would think, oh, she was cooking dinner, she couldn't have done it.
So your main element of support would be the body position of him, and then like some additional evidence would be, well, that makes it seem then that it was kind of okay. Okay.
He wasn't sure she could have banged him.
Jess, did you go have something? I don't remember if your hand was up earlier too or not.
Well, I think it's believable that it was true because it said he got a head injury, right?
Mhm.
It looks like I don't even know what that is, but there's like sharp things on the wall.
Like here,
Yeah.
like candles, candelabras,
Yeah.
lights.
It's believable that he would have tried to put his head off that. And like
Okay. Yeah, these would be like candles, lights, and then it looks like mirror or picture or something. Josh, last one.
I think it's set of eyes, the last one.
The glass that's in his hand.
It's a beer can.
It looks a little rude.
What's above his right hand?
Above his right hand. Where?
Like the thing that looks sort of like a clock. No. That's a not. That might be.
I don't know, like floor, stairs, and then part of his robe.
Right on. Between the stairs and the right on.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's
Bathrobe. Part of his like bathrobe.
It's a little suspicious.
Her husband just died.
She's lying. Evidence. Charles still has glass in his hand. As a rule, when people fall downstairs, they drop what they're carrying to save themselves.
Actually, no. 'Cause
Yeah,
my
but it's
dad
a beer.
fell down the steps, he has a laptop in his hand, and like held it the whole way down.
Also the beer. Like,
No.
Here's the
Yeah.
big thing.
What if he was still alive?
Yeah, what's
You
the
all right? Listen up. The main thing is some of us were kind of coming to conclusions initially, as to it was an accident, and then we're getting life insurance policies and all that stuff. But the process that you went through was, okay, I'm looking at the evidence, whether it was the testimony that was provided, the details, at the time that she got home versus the time that the company arrives and all that stuff, the pictures, what's still on the wall and things like that. Other arguments that people will make, going along with you would drop what you're carrying. I've had people mention the mirror would be crooked, or the sconces would kind of be disheveled, because if you're falling down the stairs, you're going to try to put your hands up on the wall to kind of save yourself or whatnot. But the main thing is what you're doing is you're going through and you're coming up with evidence explanation that leads to your claim. The last thing you really want to do when it comes to important matters, and that could be an important matter, whether you're talking about school, college choices, as an adult, family things, political things, is make a decision because that's the decision that I just want to make. That's the way it's going to be. You want to make sure that you do collect evidence, that you do collect reasoning, and that you have logic that is then going to piece all of those things together. I think too often when it comes into argument, people go, that's what I believe because that's the way it is, and there's not that ultimate support that we're coming up with. All right, I'm frozen here on my end. Let's see what we got. So we're going back to the Toulmin model. I want to show you, I have to disconnect here and then we'll come back. I want to show you the advanced Toulmin model. So there's 3 more elements, and they're really things that we naturally kind of tend to do anyway. But again, for Monday's quiz, there we go. So for the advanced Toulmin model, you still have that data, you still have the reasoning, you still have the claim, but you have some extra elements that kind of come off of the warrant. The 2 up here at the top, first one here is called modality, which we'll get into what modality means. And then you also have rebuttal. Of the 2, rebuttal is the one that tends to be a little bit more confusing because we use the term rebuttal in so many different ways as argument. When you did your SPAR debates, we said that, like that counter argument that you give is your rebuttal. When you did that second 30-second element, that was when you were doing your counter argument, you were offering your rebuttal. This is going to be a little bit different within the Toulmin model, so we just want to make sure we're kind of clear with that. The other thing is also going to be additional backing. So you have your warrant, you have your reasoning, and off of that is also backing, which is like additional logic. We'll go into the definitions of these things. So we have modality, rebuttal, backing. And a lot of these things we embed into an argument. Backing, and it's just essentially an additional claim, secondary support for the warrant. So warrants and backing are the reasoning that permits the inferential leap between data, evidence, and claim. No real difference there. What backing is just kind of gives you that secondary claim, that secondary support for the warrant that we had. So if you were to, you take a look at what we had with Charles and Margaret. Reasoning, what were some reasons that people were coming up with as to why she was lying or not? Things that were already stated? What was some evidence? Okay, the cooktop was going. So what was the warrant, what was the reasoning that was taking place as to why that would be evidence that she did not murder him? She was already doing something. She was preoccupied. It's natural that she would be preparing food for people who were continuing to come over. The backing would be taking that reasoning and continuing to extend it. Since she was cooking, she didn't really get to see necessarily what would happen. So that's why there could be some of the details might be a little fuzzy that she can give a perfect explanation. You're just kind of adding more reasoning, more logic to the evidence that is already there. So backing is kind of like just a secondary reason, secondary support for the main element of the warrant that you have. Modality is the degree of certainty. And when it comes to arguments, there's usually 2 words you want to avoid. Always is one of them. Never is the other. Because what do? You set yourself up that this always happens 100% of the time, or this never happens. And you don't allow for exceptions to take place. So if you have something like usually, probably, most likely, rarely, hardly ever, those are all degrees of certainty. Those are all modality. You don't have to give a percentage. This is correct 97% of the time. I guess if you can prove it, that can kind of add to it. But probably, usually, never, that's the degree of certainty, the probability of something happening. But if you set something up where you go always or never, you're giving your opponent a pretty easy element to attack because all they have to come up with is one exception. And if you can locate that one exception, then you can essentially discredit it. So if Billy misses 4 more days of school this semester, it is possible that she may not get credit for the class. We're not saying likely. We're not saying definite or anything like that. We're saying that it is possibly. Now, you want to be careful with what you choose because some of these can sound pretty wishy-washy. Maybe this would happen, well, then you could kind of be opening yourself up that you're not really taking a side or anything along those lines. Rebuttals are exceptions to the claim or intervening factors. This is something that as an arguer you do want to acknowledge. You can acknowledge that there are exceptions to some arguments that you would have. The Steelers are going to beat the Browns on Sunday. Unless Roethlisberger gets injured in the first quarter or first half. My argument is, and I would probably want to word it, that the Steelers will most likely beat the Browns on Sunday. However, should there be a major injury, that might not happen. Bear probably won't score 5 touchdowns this week. Unless he pays Fiske a lot of money ahead of time. And then he just happens to fall down and beat them.
That's what I've been run out of money.
Gotta do something. Go fund me page when you start. So what the rebuttal does is it acknowledges that there could be some intervening factors, there could be some things that could prohibit this from being the case. And what it does is it kind of gives you a little bit of an escape clause that you acknowledge that there are some circumstances that could change things. What's important about a rebuttal is it also acknowledges that you are aware of the argument as a whole and you're aware of other intervening factors, that you are not just so closed-minded that this is the way it's going to be no matter what. Okay. So, going back to like what Luke mentioned about when we're talking attendance, that you would not be punished for a family emergency absence that is legitimate unless you came to school late 12 other times when you were showing up at 10 o'clock. At that point, you very well couldn't have punishment. So it's just acknowledging that there could be some other intervening factors that could take place. So it's making you aware of an argument. So example of how all this stuff would piece together. Clearly, this is not going to be the case, but the overall claim, the Pirates will probably make the playoffs this year. The water cooler will probably be safe for the rest of the year. It could be a new claim that would take. Notice in the claim there is probably, so that would be the modality. We could now change that to the Pirates will probably not make the playoffs this year. What was the grounds? Well, the Pirates could have one of the better starting pitching staffs in the National League. Notice there's already even kind of like a modality, little bit of a rebuttal in here. Could have one of the better, not guaranteed. Good starting pitching leads to the playoffs. That's going to be the warrant. Injuries could debilitate. That's going to be the rebuttal. And going into some more advanced data to kind of continue to back that up. So most arguments have all of those elements already. Mike, I don't think you have any more, especially with white shorts.
I think that Margaret's killed him with a frying pan.
I wanted to give you something.
Yeah.
I meant to give it to Josh. Because I know these got collected, so you can still give it back to me. You can get the rest of it. And I'll find out. Yep. Thanks for coming up and reminding me. You too. You too.